So my name is Phil Elliott, and I'm the Director of Indie Publishing for Square Enix West, which basically means I created and oversee the Square Enix Collective label. So we work with indies basically not really as a traditional publisher, but more of a service provider, providing things like QA, marketing, relationships with platforms and that kind of thing. So we don't touch IP, we don't touch creative control, and we try to help teams to maximize opportunity and remain sustainable so they can keep creating cool games.
And indie games are made all over the world right now in Dubrovnik in Croatia. What are your thoughts as you walk around and see the indies that are on display here?
I guess my first thought is how amazing it is to see this event growing as it has done. I remember the first event was 4 years ago in a little hotel room in downtown Zagreb, and there were maybe 6 or 7 international speakers and possibly, I'd say certainly less than 100 people in the room, I would feel, just one room. And this year, at the opening ceremony, I'm standing at the back, and there's this massive hall and this screen at the front wouldn't have fit in the room from back then. So, it's fantastic to see the desire in this region to actually have an event like this, to bring people together. And I think, the guys at Reboot have done a fantastic job to bring in the right mix of people to enable a fantastic atmosphere, some great learning, and a good blend of what's happening at the local and regional level as well.
What role do shows like this play for you in being able to go and physically play games, but also meet the people behind the indies?
So I think, there are obviously some, very big events around the world in terms of dev conferences that you can go to and meet 100 people in 3 days or whatever and do that kind of thing. What I like about this, I say smaller. Obviously this one is getting to be certainly one of the good mid-scale ones now. But those kind of more regional events enable you to go to somewhere in the space of a few days, get a real sense of what the particular talent or what the particular level or what the particular interests of that local region's industry expertise is. And it's you're never going to get time at some of the big events to go and get see what everybody is doing. But here, you've got the time and the space to go around and get a good sense of, see pretty much everything that's at the expo, everything that's that the indies have brought to this show, and then the conversations you also have help you to understand what they're looking for, what do they need, where are they at in that kind of journey. We live in a world now where the games industry is global. Anyone, anywhere can make a video game. And while that obviously brings a lot of challenges for the whole industry about curation, the real opportunity is that it's going to bring us such a big diversity of creativity, of perception, of perspective, and stories that can come from anywhere. So video games rely on feeling fresh, creative. We've got the big franchises, and that's really important as well. Those are not going to change materially in terms, from one version to the next. You can't take big risk and completely remake a game and have it different because the cost of those games is so high. So to be able to tap into the local markets and really, hopefully, for any kind of publisher coming here, to be able to see that talent and hopefully surface that talent with their different ideas to the folks that are going to be in Canada or in the UK or in Germany or in Tokyo or wherever, I think that's super exciting for everybody.
What do you look for when it comes to adding games to your portfolio?
So I think that's changed a lot over the past couple of years, and to be funny, it's probably changed a lot over the past 9 months or so. We used to be our key aim, as I said, was to try to help small teams become sustainable, remain independently creative, and bring to the industry that perhaps level of stability at the indie level, which I think is important for the future of the industry. I think now we're looking for probably a little bit bigger in terms of projects, a little bit more ambitious. A few years ago, that's probably not the kind of thing I would have found here. But the cool thing is that I think as this event has grown, so the local industry has grown, and seeing some things which are mightily visually impressive, for example, or really have great ambition to last for a 5-year project. Those are more the kinds of things that we'd look for now, and Reboot Developers is as valid a stop as any other conference on the map out there.
When it comes to the huge fan base Square Enix has around its many big franchises, how have you guys been able to utilize those gamers in helping grow these brand new indies?
So there's a few ways we would look to try to bring that Square Enix community into what we're doing. For the last 3-4 years, I guess now, we've been publishing pitches from anybody that kind of comes to us for free, no strings attached, where we will drive the Square Enix community. We send out newsletters and use social channels for those people to go and really vote on whether they would support that project, be interested in that project in the long term, and give some qualitative feedback on what they like, what they don't like. And so we've probably published 200 plus pitches now in that time. Of course, for the games that we publish, or we act as publisher for, we'll always try and cross-pollinate where we think there's a good reason to do so. If somebody comes to us with a game that we feel is going to really appeal to fans of Final Fantasy Tactics, for example, then it's probably easiest for us to see a great opportunity to be able to help them get that visibility they need. But that said, we've never shied away from trying new things for Square Enix. So probably our most successful release through Collective has been Battalion 1944, which is a World War II first-person shooter. Not really a genre or setting that Square Enix is known for. So for us at Collective, we're trying to kind of support teams no matter what they're doing. I think our focus will change a little bit, but for us the important thing is we try to get them in the best position to keep making games in the future.
What excites you about what's happening in the indie game space and the creativity you're seeing from the smaller to mid-sized teams?
So the indie sector is absolutely vital to the continued growth of the video games industry as a whole. And the reason I say that is because there's clear evidence that maybe 2006, 2007, as a part of the industry was kind of falling away, there was a dearth of content. And there was still that AAA layer, but gamers and media alike were getting a little bit bored of franchises and sequels. So they started to go and actively seek out new experiences, and those new experiences is what led to, along with accessibility of tools and platforms like Steam to sell games, the indie sector as we know it today. Or at least several years ago. Obviously, since then, the challenge increases as to how we surface talent, how we find, trying to make sure that the future AAA devs of the next 10 years maybe, or headliners of E3 and whatever, across the future are found and actually have an on-ramp into the industry. I think that's a big challenge. But if this industry was only about AAA franchises and sequels, I worry that within a few years, that kind of feeling of being a bit bored with stuff and the games are all a bit the same could resurface. And it's in no one's interests for the industry to go into decline. So I hope that what we're doing is a very small thing. I know others like Bandai Namco and EA and other big companies are actually trying to look at different ways to bring in, it's not just a case of new IP, but actually the people behind those games. The film industry does it very well. And I think we could probably learn some lessons there. But indie stuff is all about experimentation, new ideas, creative diversity, and those kinds of games are not going to be for everyone. They're not going to be the mass market, but they are going to be, in my view, part of the real beating heart of what drives vibrancy and freshness and continued interest in games for the future and to come.